This review has been made possible by Chevrolet of Naperville. As you know, Chevy has tons of brand new cars and trucks available for purchase, but did you know that they also have a remarkable selection of used cars? Head on over to ChevroletofNaperville.com and look through hundreds of used cars for sale right now.
Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2004 Chevy Corvette Z06. Up front is a 5.7 liter V8. Down below is a 6-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this here Z06 for two reasons. First of all, I've never driven a C5 Z06 before, so that's always fun. But second of all, I recently went to the National Corvette Museum down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, so I got a little bit of Corvette on the brain, and I'm happy to be behind the wheel of another one. So let's get back to that 5.7 liter V8. Well, it's an LS6 engine, and while yes, the standard Corvette got the 5.7 liter V8 as well, this has been worked over, and you can tell by just looking at it that it makes 405 horsepower. How can you tell by looking at it? If you just look at the badge on the side, it says 405 horsepower. Not many cars say the horsepower on the side, but some Corvettes do, and it is a beefy 405 horsepower. This car weighs around 3,000 pounds, maybe 3,100, and so it's not that heavy of a car to have 400 horsepower, and it's very, very torquey. You let the clutch in first gear, and the car just starts moving. So I'm gonna roll into it. Always a fun time in a Z06. I have done a C6 Z06 and it feels similar. Oh yeah. I'm running out of track, baby. Oh, this thing is quick. This is quick. It's a very fast car. Z06s they're quick, and they make you remember who's boss. That's the thing with the C6 Z06 as well, is that when you really get into it, I'd like to think I'm a pretty good driver. Driven over 580 different cars just here on YouTube alone. I've driven a fair amount. Driven 1,000 horsepower cars. I've driven 55 horsepower cars. And I've reviewed 800 horsepower cars. I've driven a lot of cars. But it's always the Z06 that always puts me back in my place, whether it's the C5 or C6. It goes, hey, simmer down. It's not gonna kill me. I'm not gonna kill myself in this car, but it reminds me that it could. It very well could. Like I said, paired to its 6-speed manual transmission, nice and easy to shift. It's a little bit stiffer of a clutch than you'll probably be used to driving like Miatas and Hondas and things like that. Moving up to a Corvette definitely feels different. The shifting feel feels really good. And like I said, you let off the clutch in first and you barely have to give it any gas. This engine is so torquey. It just does the work for you, and I love that. Last but not least, of course, the Corvette is rear-wheel drive, and it's also rear transmission. So the C5 was the first generation of Corvette to have the transmission at the back. It actually has a transaxle and a torque tube going from the engine to the back of the car. Basically a really long drive shaft going from the engine to trans instead of trans to diff. A little fun fact for you if you didn't know. But now let's talk about the interior, because oh boy do I have thoughts in here. Well, in front of me I have a cluster of gauges. Some would call it a gauge cluster. On the left I have coolant temperature and oil pressure. Then I have my tachometer and speedometer in the middle. Crazy seeing a speedometer go to 200 miles an hour. And then I have battery voltage and fuel to the right. I love the fact that the tachometer says Z06. Makes me feel special. On the steering wheel, I don't really get any buttons. It has that sort of pillowy airbag from the late 90s, and this is the first inclination that this interior is very, very outdated, and we'll talk more about that later on. To the left of me, I do have my controls for my heads-up display. So this car does have a heads-up display that will show my speed, tachometer, and oil pressure up on the windshield. However, I can change that to show temperature, fuel, or oil pressure, and I can adjust the brightness and things like that. To the right of the gauges, I have a bunch of different options for the little information screen down at the bottom. Chevy's always been really good about this, even in the C4 Corvette. They give you a lot of information, these little digital readouts, and I like them a lot. And so you can do a bunch in here, and Chevy's even good about that to this day. On the door, I have two different memory seat options. Very, very nice. Then I have my power mirrors, power locks, and my power windows. These feel really weird. They feel like there's a cover over the buttons. There's this sort of jelly rubber when pushing them, which is kind of odd, but stereotypical of Corvettes for sure. Moving into the center, I get a single climate control vent in the middle. Then I have my very typical theft lock Delco Electronics radio. This was featured in so many different vehicles of this era, from Chevy, Cadillac, Buick, things like that. Then I have my climate controls. I do get dual zone climate, which is very, very nice to find here in the Corvette, as well as I get, of course, my defrosters, and I get a little digital readout for my temperature. Then I have a little garage door at the bottom showing me my 12-volt outlet, little ashtray. And then to the right of that, I do have a cup holder that flips open. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the C5 Z06. And I mean, come on. So, a couple of thank yous to the people who made this video possible. First of all, we have Cash for Cars. Cash for Cars wants to buy your car. Whether it's running, non-running, has a good title, salvage title, whatever it is, you can get a free quote from Cash for Cars and they will pick up your vehicle in less than 24 hours. Our next sponsor is Fixed. Fixed is a Bluetooth OBD2 sensor that plugs directly into your car and pairs to your smartphone. The app allows you to monitor your vehicle's health, it gives you a forecast of issues that might come up, and helps you schedule maintenance and find new parts. Our final sponsor is Conplates. Conplates is a suction cup license plate mount for the front of your vehicle if you don't want to drill one into your bumper. All three of our fantastic sponsors can be found in the description below, as well as videos explaining them further if you'd like more information, but let's get on with the review. Then we get to the shifter. This is the stock shift knob. This car only has 24,000 miles on it. Has been really well kept. And so the shift knob is stock, and I've never driven a C5 Corvette with the stock shift knob, and I have to say I now understand why. This is a terribly hideous shift knob because it looks so outdated. This is a 2004 car. Very, very outdated, and this whole interior is really outdated. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Then I do have a active handling, which is basically traction control button. I love the fact that they had the attention to detail to put a C5 Corvette on the traction control. Absolutely love that, and they actually carry this button over to the C6 without changing the logo. So the C6 Corvettes have a C5 Corvette logo in them, which is kind of funny. Then I get the handbrake off to the right, and I get a little center console, which holds the button for my fuel door, and that's about it. Now, the seats are decently comfortable. They do say Z06 on the headrest, which is very, very nice. However, they do look dated, and these seat belts are very, very dated. The seat belts don't slide on the belts, which is probably good for longevity, honestly, so they don't get those tears that some cars get. But it's a very old style of doing it. I feel like I'm buckling up in my grandparents' 1986 Eldorado. So I wish that they would have gotten updated, but again, this is the last year of the C5, so that's okay. Now, we don't have back seats, but this is actually the coupe. This is not the hatchback. I've never driven a coupe C5 before, so let's go talk about the trunk. So, around the back here of the Z06, I do have a trunk popper on the key fob, which is nice. Let's see, first time with a actual Corvette trunk. And you can see the trunk actually does go through to the passenger compartment, but it's actually a standard trunk. You know, open it like a standard trunk, you would think. A lot of space in here, really surprised by that. I do have these deep divots and things down here. I mean, look at how deep this goes. It's like Moana, how far I'll go. Anyway, well, things like that. So this is the Z06 trunk, and this is the trunk of the coupe body style. So as you can see, the rear glass ends right here, and then you have the trunk. So the other C5, I'll show a clip here. You see the sloping rear end slopes into the trunk, and it's a hatchback where this is actually a coupe. So, not bad. I'm honestly pretty happy with the trunk, and it does go into the passenger compartment, so you're not really losing any space. Now we gotta talk about the looks. I love the look of the Z06. I mean, it looks mostly like the normal Corvette. I'll point some things out here in a second when we finish the walk around, but overall, I like how stealthy it is. I like how curved it is, and I think the C5 has actually held up really well now, what, 15 years later? No, 17 years later. My God. I still think it's 2019. I don't know why. But now let's point out the things that are Z06 specific. First of all, the easiest way to identify a Z06 is the vents on the side. Those are brake duct coolers, so it cools down your rear brakes for track driving, things like that. It channels the air in towards your brake. The air moves over the brake and brings the heat with it, cooling down your brakes, giving you more braking power, yada, yada, yada. That is a Z06 feature and only found on the Z06. Not found on the normal Corvette. It also gets these chrome wheels. This pattern is a Z06 pattern. These are chrome for 2004, and they are specific to the Z06. And so let's get to my final thoughts here on the Corvette. I say this in a lot of my reviews, but I didn't like Corvettes growing up. I never grew up lusting over Corvettes because I thought that they're pretty basic. And in all reality, they are. I hopped into this thing with nothing but a light breakfast in my stomach and a camera bag, and I was wielding 405 horsepower on this nearly 100-degree day. For not too many payments, you yourself can get a 405 horsepower V8 coupe. And while there's an old saying in my household that goes, cheat to win, the Corvette feels like cheating. It's such a good car that it doesn't need anything, and you can just hop in and have an amazing time. It's very well rounded, not just in the body lines, but in just it being a car. These cars are just so good, and I think that's why I disliked them for so long, is because it felt like cheating. And so the only reason to hate a Corvette is because you're on the side of the road looking at the Corvette. You're not the one doing the driving, because it's fun to be the cheater. It's not fun to get cheated, but it's fun to be the cheater. And that's exactly how this car feels. I feel like I owe this car something for what it's given me. It's like a really good friend that just gives and gives and gives, and you say, hey man, I don't know how to repay you, and they say, forget about it, don't worry about it. This is just a Kentucky good boy, a friend that just says, don't worry about it, you're taken care of. Don't even think about it, I got you. And this car has exactly what I need. That's what I need. That's what I needed. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Chevy of Naperville for letting me take out their C5 Z06. This is one of their used vehicles on the lot. This is an absolutely fantastic look at the Z06. If you are looking to get a Z06, boy, is this the one to find. Under 25,000 miles. Everything works. I've been pleasantly enjoying the AC. Like I said, it's like 100 degrees today, and I am not even breaking a sweat in this thing. So, huge thank you to Chevy of Naperville. Their information is up on the screen as well as linked in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care.